back, so I wonder what that says. And thanks for having me with the Theosophical Society. It's my first time here. And when you do something the first time, you never know really what to say and what to talk about. Hazel helped me a bit. I gave her some information and she came up with a lovely title for tonight. So we talk about the ascension process from three-dimensional being to five-dimensional being, or the new earth as it is known. But I want to start maybe with a little question to get your brains active and going. And the question is, what does the word humankind mean? Do you know? Why do they call us humankind?
Kind of human, but not quite.
I think that's spot on. Kind of human, but not quite. Yes, it's definitely a kind of being. And the word human comes from the Sanskrit word manos, which means consciousness. So you're quite right, it's a kind of consciousness. That's who we are. And that's very important to have that as a basic intro tonight, to understand that we are consciousness. The whole ascension process comes down to two aspects of us as human beings. And the one, of course, is consciousness, and the other one is your vibration, your frequency, where you vibrate at a certain frequency in this world as a living human being. And the interesting stuff is that your consciousness also vibrates at a certain frequency. And these two normally climbs the ladder of ascension together. So there is a certain aspect of your physical body in this, and there is a certain aspect of your conscious body which is not physical in this process. Because we are three-dimensional beings, and that just means we are physical beings. We are sitting in this body. Some of us can get out and back again. I think they call it astral traveling and all that wonderful stuff. But most of us can't do that yet. But the good news tonight is you are all capable of doing it. And the big thing about that is just start believing it. My background, as you by now know, is from the Christian tradition, and therefore I refer quite a lot to Jesus. Not Jesus in the sense of the Savior through his blood on the cross, but Jesus as the teacher, as the guru of the Christian faith. And I think we mostly miss that aspect due to church and traditions and traditional teachings within Christianity. So when I refer tonight to certain aspects of Jesus and what he said and what he meant, it's not to bring you back to the traditional church, but it's just to open your minds up to the teachings of Jesus, which I find really helpful in this whole process of ascension. So what happened to him after his resurrection? Some people believe it was a physical bodily resurrection, which is just plain impossible, because after the resurrection he just appeared in a room, in the upper room in Jerusalem. He walked through walls. He traveled over distances within the blink of an eye. Our physicality doesn't allow that. If we want to do that, we need to get rid of the physical body. So that tells us something about this person. Jesus, he reached what we try to reach, the fifth dimension, while he was here on earth. And he demonstrated it to us, although we not normally realize that, because we don't read it in the translations which was chosen for a specific reason to be part of the Gospels in the New Testament. So when I speak tonight and something doesn't resonate with you, just let it go. If something doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't make it untrue. Because if I sent you back tonight, just 100 years ago, and you go to the year, what is that, 1922, and you gather a lot of people. They were in kind of the same circumstances than us. They came through the big big flu pandemic at that stage, and they came through the First World War, so the world was in turmoil. So if I sent you back there and you gather the people and you tell them, listen, I got good news for you. In 100 years' time, you will stand with a handheld device, like that one, and you will be looking at that device and you will speak to your children that works overseas on a different continent, and it will be immediately, and you will even see their faces. The people will go like, what? What did you drink? You are nuts. And that's just 100 years ago. And now we get on a plane and we hop on this plane and we fly this whole world. And we speak on a handheld device. And it's lovely when I was in Scotland to speak to your mom on a Sunday evening in lockdown and you're alone in a dark country. I can keep you busy for a week with all my tales there. But back to tonight, there is a big shift happening on this planet. And I said earlier today when we had lunch with some friends, it was such a big, the word is shock, or maybe that's not the right word. Disappointment is probably the better word. Of the recent news the last week, we are expecting this whole upliftment and this new earth, and then they hit us with the news of a new war. Innocent people are being killed as we speak. And I was so disappointed thinking, so all of this is nonsense? And then I realized the darkest hour of the day is the hour before the sun rises. And this three-dimensional world will not go down easily without a fight. So prepare you, as Brenda, I think she said earlier tonight, we are in turmoil. We are in dark times. Prepare you for that, but it will get better. And you have it in you to already enter that better world or the new earth that Eckhart Tolle wrote about, and many people. Jesus spoke about it. The New Testament speaks about it. So it's something that is viable, it's something that's in your hand, it's something that is here. And we are the type of consciousness that can do this now in this stage of your life. You are in the right place. You are in this right place at the right time. You are exactly where you need to be. You have the tools you need. You have the knowledge, even if you don't believe that, because it's in you. We just need to bring it out. You have everything to climb the ladder of ascension and to get to the level that Jesus Christ had when he left. And he left with a promise. He said, if you only will believe this, you will do what I did and you will even do greater things. That was his promise. And you can go and read it in the New Testament if you don't believe me. So the key is also this faith, that you will have the faith that you can do this, and then the courage to take the leap, because it is a leap of faith, believe me. The human body is very interesting. So let's get down to practical stuff tonight. We said we live in a three-dimensional world, which is a physical world, and we can see the physical stuff around us because it vibrates at a very low vibration of more or less 7.8 megahertz, and therefore it appears to us to be physical. So the three-dimensional world, the level of vibration is 7.8 megahertz, give and take a little bit. The five-dimensional world that we strive to reach vibrates at 40 megahertz. So you see there's a big gap. But there's a way to cross this gap. And that's what I want to share with you tonight. In every... Felicity is a medical doctor, so maybe she can help me if I'm wrong. In every cell of the human body, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. So that gives you 46 chromosomes in every cell of your human body. And how many cells do we have? It's like trillions in this human body. In every chromosome is your DNA. It's embedded in there. And your DNA has 12 strands, of which only 2 are activated at this stage of being human in the 3-dimensional form. So 46 chromosomes within the human cell times 2 strands of human DNA that's been activated gives you 92, I think, if my maths is correct. So there's 92 activated strands of DNA within every cell of your body as you are sitting here tonight. That's a given. You cannot be here if that wasn't the case. You have 12 strands of DNA. If you reach the 5th dimensional level, all 12 will be activated. So make that math. It's 12 times 46. What is that? I think it's 552 or something like that. So at the 5-dimensional level, 40 hertz vibration, you will have 552 activated DNA strands in every human cell of your body. Your body cannot stand that. That's why you switch over to the non-physical. This physical body cannot handle that vibration. And that's what happened to Jesus, we believe. And that's why he switched over to the non-physical. But the beauty is he had the ability to appear as being physical. He walked with those guys on the way to Emmaus, and they had a conversation, and then he opened their eyes to see, okay, this is actually the Jesus that they spoke about. That ability is within your reach, and that is actually why we are here, is to grow from this 92 activated strands of DNA to 552 activated strands of DNA, and the ascension process is completed. You can move on. I love the word that Brenda used tonight when she spoke to you and she called you something. Can you remember what she called you? She called you all light workers. Very important. In our tradition, we believe that Jesus called his disciples to follow him, because that's what a disciple is, a follower. And then after a while, he told them, now you move on, you become apostles. In Matthew 10, you can read about that. And they went out being apostles. And Matthew 10 says they did what he did. Miracles, healings, preaching, teaching, all of the stuff that Jesus did. In Matthew 10 already, the disciples did that. So they became apostles. And then at the end, when he left them, he said, okay, now you need to go into the world as light workers. So there's a 3-stage that we move through. We become disciples and followers of the truth. For us, the truth is within the teachings of Jesus. Then we become the apostles that takes this truth and start living it and showing it. And then we embody the Christ consciousness, the Christ-like consciousness. And if you take that development, it takes you through your development on conscious level. You have 7 major conscious levels that we work through since birth to the 7th level. I think it's Paul that wrote and said, I've been to the 7th heaven. That's it, the 7th consciousness level. He spoke in a language that the people of his time could understand. And that reminds me of a very important aspect. You can only understand the things and the knowledge and the wisdom that vibrates according to the consciousness level that you are on. So you can till your face is red to people on a 1st or 2nd or 3rd consciousness level and explain the utmost detail of a 7th level, and they will not understand it if they are not there themselves. And we break our heads many times because people don't believe what we are saying. They can't believe what we are saying because they're just not there. And you guys are there. You are the light workers in this world. People come to this world for 2 reasons. It's the only planet in the universe that has free choice, and there's a reason for that. You have free choice so that you can make the choices, because it's through your choices that you grow in consciousness, that you grow in vibration, and that you ascend higher up the ladder of ascension. It's your choice. Nobody can make you. Nobody can force you. Nobody even can ask you. It's a want, it's a need, it's something within you that will drive you to make the choice, I want to do this. I want to travel this journey. I want to ascend on this ladder. You remember the dream of Jacob and the ladder in Bethel? And he saw the angels going up and coming down from heaven. It's this what we are talking about. It's you going up, getting the knowledge. And some of you that got the knowledge will make the choice. That's the other group of people, the light workers in this world. They will come back to help to uplift the consciousness of this planet. So there are many souls. We are in total currently, I think, 7.8 billion on this planet. Many, far more the majority of those souls are here to make the choices through free will to ascend the ladder of ascension. And then there's a handful, a group, many in terms of 7.8 billion, that are here as light workers that already reached that, but came back and forgot all about that, to come and help through your ascension to uplift this planet. And that's where you fit in. So sorry to tell you tonight, but you have hard work ahead. You're here to work. You're not here on a leisure, nice journey, holiday on planet Earth. You are here to work. And that's why you have been made so uncomfortable with the situation in this world, with the injustices that's going on, with things like wars. Because you are the people that see the unjustness of these things on this planet, and it makes you cringe. Because you cannot associate with that, because you vibrate on a different level. That's the reason. You're way past these things. And your task is to vibrate and to bring that light in such a way that you uplift everybody around you and uplift the planet which we call Gaia with you. That's a mouthful. Don't be scared. There's a lot of help around. There are other light workers, and we support each other and we help each other. There are angels. There are ascended masters and masters that came back to teach. So there's so much help around that the moment that you make the choice to open up to this new world, that help will just flow in and you will be amazed. So to become more practical about all of this, so your body can't take a 5-dimensional vibration. They say the fifth dimension is toxic for the 3-dimensional body. And that's the moment you just leave. We have examples like Elijah that went up and they thought it was a chariot of fire. It's this vibration that just took him up. And I said this morning, he came back as a teacher, as John the Baptist. And he taught Jesus, because Jesus went to him for teachings and understanding. You can read that in the Gospel of Mark. And in Matthew 17, where Jesus said, Elijah did appear, and it was John the Baptist. So we have the evidence that the help is there, and the help is so close that you can only have the intention, because that's the way you make the choice, by your intention or through your intention, to start this ascending ladder to get up to the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension is a light grid that's been placed around this earth. In your mind's eye, you can see the planet, and completely around it is this light grid of 40 megahertz and up to 100 megahertz of light that surrounds us. For many, many years, there was a Dyson sphere around the planet that prevented any energy to leave this planet and prevented any five-dimensional energy to enter this planet. That explains why human ascension took thousands and thousands of years. There are the odd ones that reached it and that got the help to get past this sphere. They call it the Dyson sphere. You can go and Google it if you don't believe me. And that's been removed. So that's the good news tonight. Since 2018, the Dyson sphere has been removed and replaced by the five-dimensional light grid. So what we have currently on this planet is the three-dimensional world on the planet where we live in, and just above us, the five-dimensional timeline grid available to us. And the way you link to that is through your crown chakra. When your crown chakra opens and vibrates at 40 megahertz, the link takes place. So how do we get there? The chakras play a very important role. You know what the chakras are. There's 7 major chakras. Now the bells start ringing. 7 major chakras, 7 archangels, 7 major consciousness levels. You start to see the picture. That is your route or your roadmap towards ascension, is through these 777. The angels link with your chakras. Colors link with your chakras. It's red, the rainbow colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, indigo, and white. So they link up with your 7 chakras. And that's why if you go to people like Hazel and they can see your aura, they will tell you which color your aura is, because your aura color link up with your chakra colors. So the predominant chakra that's open and the level where you are will reflect in your aura. And your consciousness links with that. Do you know the 7 levels of consciousness? First one is archaic. It's when a baby is born. You are rooted. All you need is milk, a warm bed, and mom's love. That's all you need. And if you don't get it, you're like a baby, you cry, and you throw a tantrum. That's typical of people on the first level of consciousness, archaic level. Then they move on, and it goes into the magical. And then we have these little kids, and they play with their imaginary friends. But the beauty, that opens their eyes to see sometimes the angels, and they communicate with them. But then they get to school, and with the teacher, the first thing they said, "Oh, that rubbish, leave it at home. We are here to learn." And we, as society, close that very quickly. And they move into the mythical, where you kind of believe this, but you're also searching for more evidence, stuff. That's normally people after 7 years, 8 years of age to just adolescent, or how do you say it? Adolescent. Yes. Yeah, I won't say what we call it in university. That's not suitable for the people of tonight. But that rough years, where you grow up, your body becomes an adult. There's changes taking place for us men. Your voice break, as we call it. There's a lot of changes, and you struggle with getting to grips with all these changes that not only on the physical level, but also on the mental level is taking place. So that's the mythical stage, and then we move into the logical stage. But before we go on, the interesting thing, we were taught at university, when you preach or you do your thing on a Sunday service, this is in theological school, 5th and 6th year theology at the University of Pretoria. They say you aim your level of preaching to the mythical level of a 16 to 17-year-old person. And the reasoning behind that was, if you aim there, you will reach most of the people that sits in front of you on a Sunday morning. It's incredible. And at that stage, it worked. I'm talking about the 80s now, early 90s. At that stage, it worked perfectly because it was true. People were at that level. There were some people that would ask some questions because they moved over to the logical, give me evidence. If I can't see it, if I can't test it, it doesn't exist. That's the logical level. Some people would have been there, mostly engineers and doctors and people that studied in those directions, and they will face you and say, listen, this stuff doesn't make sense. How can Jesus just disappear and walk through walls? It doesn't make sense. But most people in those congregations, and I was this minister that you won't believe it, fire and brimstone was my thing. Oh yes, I was big on it. You sinners will go to hell, that thing. And everybody just, because that was the consciousness level of most people at that stage, and it made sense to them. And suddenly you question yourself and you say, there's something more than this, and then you move on. So after the logical level, there's the logic vision or the vision logic level. Is you still very logic, but you start to realize there's something more, something that we cannot see. And then you move on to the psychic level, of which there are a lot of you here tonight, and the final stage, or the seventh level, is the causal level, or the Christ consciousness as we call it in our tradition. So that's the seventh level. It's the Apostle Paul that said, by now you should have all been teachers, but now I have to come and feed you with milk because you're not ready. You should be on solid food by now. And it's kind of as if he says, what the hell is going on? And it's just the consciousness level of the people at that stage. They were not ready to be the teachers. They were only ready for the milk. And the milk is the beautiful stories and Jesus on the cross and the lovely stuff that we taught from the pulpit. And people just drank it up and they were just ready for this, but they were not ready for the next step. And as soon as you started to talk about the next step, heresy, they would say. Burn him at the stake, And I've been burned a couple of times. Luckily not physically, but mentally by many. But that pushes you to grow more, because now you have to go back to your desk and find answers to these people that do not understand what you're talking about. But then you get back to the other problem. You can't find answers for them at that consciousness level. So you have to lift their consciousness. And that's the secret to this whole ascension process. So as your consciousness levels go up, your DNA strands activate it. And as your DNA strands activate, your vibration, your physical vibration lifts. And as your physical vibration lifts, you start climbing the ladder. So where does it start? Back to basics. Where does this start? At the milk, at the beautiful stories. That's why we teach our kids these things about Noah and about Jonah and the big fish. But what we normally didn't do, we didn't bring that through the years and tell, okay, now you're ready to understand that that's just a story, that's just a parable. Within every parable, there is a deeper meaning and a deeper message. And now you're ready for that. This is the words of Jesus, it's not my wisdom. He said, I only speak in parables, so that people that are not ready will not get the message. They will stick with the story. And if we go through the world today, there are still many people that do not get the message. They stick with the stories. They are with what Paul says, the milk. They do not get to the solid food. And now I want to say something which is very important, and I don't even need to say it, but because you guys and girls as light workers know this. Story is not wrong. They're not stupid. They're just where they need to be on their journey. It doesn't make us better human beings because we're on a higher level of consciousness. That is ego. And you know what ego does to us. And that's very dangerous. So never go out and think, I'm the better one. Why can't we think that? Because we were there. I easily tell people how low my consciousness level was when I hit the pulpit shouting, you all go to hell. And at that stage, I thought it was the right thing to do. That will wake them up, and next Sunday they will be back, trembling with fear, and then it's good. You were a good minister when everybody was trembling with fear when they walk out of the church. The good old days. So somebody on that level is not worse off than us. They're exactly where they need to be. And it's not your task to change that. And that's a big thing that we need to understand. We should not be running around shaking people and try to wake them up. That never works. I think it just works in the different direction. They just get this aversion against anybody that wants to wake them up, or so-called wake them up. Your task as a light worker is to work on your own ascension and to become the beacon of light and love in this world. And by embodying this light and this love, you bring it into this world and you uplift the planet. So your task is to work on yourself, to focus on yourself. It sounds very egoistic, but it's not, because that's the difficult task. It's very easy to tell people, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do this. Oh, and you are wrong. But it's very difficult to do that with yourself. To say, my next step is, no, I'm not going to tell you, because then I share my secrets with you. But to tell yourself, this is my next step. This is what I need to work on. I can share this with you. Friday, just this past Friday, a friend of mine's mother passed away, and she and her husband and my mom and dad were wonderful friends. They went to the game reserves together and holidaying together. And so all of them died now except my mom. She's still hanging on there. And we all name her in our testaments because she's going to grow 200, I think. There's no way she's going. But anyway, so I took her to this funeral on Friday, and it was in the Stellestraat NG Kerk. And with all respect, I walked in there and I just felt so uncomfortable. I felt like, I don't want to be here. And it's nothing to do with this building or these people. It's just this energy doesn't resonate anymore with me. And it doesn't make me a better person than all the others that were there and got something out of the service. I'm not better than them, not at all. And then you just realize, and I asked myself, is this your ego speaking? Or is it just the way things are now? And I think it's just the way things are now. We're not comfortable anymore in situations and places where we are not comfortable. And you should not break your head about it. That's the facts of life. And that's a sign that you have moved on. And this wonderful Brenda told me the other day, not long ago, you need to close the history chapters and move on. And that's exactly the thing. To close those doors, not because it's bad or ugly, but you did the work there that you needed to do. You need to do the work here now and focus on that. And that was the message for me on Friday. And then I got something out. He read a beautiful piece from the scripture, the readings, and I just thought, wow, it sounds so different today. It's so beautiful. And then you move on and you're fine. So be prepared to be very uncomfortable in many situations in your daily lives. Trust the energy and the message of that energy that is a message for you, not for anybody else. It's a message for you. Trust the things that makes you very uncomfortable, because that is the messengers saying it's time to grow. It's time to move on. It's time to go forward. It's time to climb the ladder. And remember, it's climbing a ladder. It's not as flippant, but slide down easy into the pool. It's climbing a ladder. It's hard work. It's balancing. It's courage. It's a leap of faith. It's determination. And then the big word that I want to give you tonight, discernment. Discernment is your weapon. And what does it mean? You have to discern between things that's in front of you or confronts you. Does this confront me because I'm not there anymore? Or is this a push or a pull for me to grow? And only you can answer that question. Nobody else can do it for you. Discernment is a gift of consciousness growth. The higher you grow in consciousness, the more alert your discernment will grow. And I love the word discernment because it's not the old traditional word of judgment. It's not a judgment. It's discerning between what is right for you now, what is calling you to higher growth, and what is stuff that you left behind, and you can move on. The beauty of consciousness level growth is as you move through these different levels, you do not move through a level and then lock the door and never go there. You take that level with you. We all have something magical in us. We all have something mythical in us. We all have something archaic in us. We still need to pay the bills at the end of the month. We still need to have food on the table and a roof over our heads because we're still in this three-dimensional world. We still have that thing when somebody tells you you have cancer and you got the hope of, is there medicine I can take? You still have that logical thing within you that gives you hope at some stages. So don't throw away the growth that you went through. It's always there to use. So your consciousness level doesn't go from level and below is nothing, because then you're going to fall. It expands like this. And you have everything that you went through to your disposal to use and to utilize in your growth. There's stuff down there that I don't want to revisit, believe me. But there's stuff down there that gives me hope. Because you go through certain situations and you literally get to the other side alive. And you just think, I don't know how this happened. I should have been dead. But here I am. And it's that kind of richness that enrich your world and your life that you always take with you. And it's that kind of richness that you share with your fellow travelers that enrich them. Not change them, just enrich them. And what they do with that is their business. It's nothing to do with you. Disconnect to the success of other people in the ascension process. It's not necessary for you to take everybody with you on your journey. That's your job. But believe me, when you travel, and I think all of you will testify to this, when you start traveling this road, you will never be alone. You will meet new people. You will lose a lot of friends. Your whole friendship circle will change. You will even lose family members. A friend of mine said the other day, my dad said I shouldn't come there and talk about this stuff. I'm welcome at home, but I shouldn't talk about this stuff. And I think that's a good, way of handling it, because it is your parents and you do respect them and you respect where they are. And if they are not ready, then they are not ready. My grandmother came to Renaissance when we started it. She was 90, around 90 at that stage. And when we left and went home, she said, so why don't you read the law, die 10 gebooie? And I said, well, we're not law people anymore. We moved on. She said, and why don't you read the Confession of Faith every Sunday like we do? She was a dopper. Now you know her background. So she was very... And I said, Grandmom, the Bible says the earth stands on pillars, and we don't believe that anymore. And she thought about that and she said, okay, let's don't talk about this anymore. And so we moved on. And just before she died, my uncle died at the age of 60, and my grandmother was around 90 when he died, when he passed away. And just before she died, she said to my mother, I need to come and see her. So I went there, and she was in the old age home in a section where they assistant living. And I went in there and we had a lovely chat, and she said, I want to share something with you. I cannot believe anymore that God will kill his son for us, because I can't accept the death of my son. And what parent will do such a thing? You see the tears here. And it's just like, wow, 94. And something just opened up. And she realized there's something more as the milk in the Gospels. And when something like that happens, you feel like life is worth the while. May you be awake. May you enjoy the journey. May you be so uncomfortable with your situation that you will be forced to grow. And may you be blessed in that growth to ascend to the 5th dimensional level. Be the light workers who you already are, and shine the light and be the beacon in your family, in your circle of friends, in your city, without telling people what to do, but by embodying the Christ consciousness. You are so blessed, you don't even realize it. Take that blessing and, oh boy, live this life. Thank you.